Hey everyone, today I'm joined by Frank Fiordilino. He was an associate for the Bonanno Crime family, which is a crime family underneath the 5 New York families. Today, me and Frank talk about his life as a criminal and crimes that he did with the Bonanno Crime family. We also talk about Frank's life-changing moment when he got out of the life. Frank was involved with the murder and he was arrested for it. Frank would eventually go on to testify against Joe Massino, the boss of the Bonanno Crime family at the time. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to get more interviews like this. And without further ado, let's get into Frank's story.
Hey, what's up? What's going on? I'm Frank Fiordilino. Grew up in Ridgewood, Queens. I was part of the Bonanno family indictment a couple of years ago. Many people have heard my story already. I was part of a farm team gang, if you will, term that's being used a lot in respect to minor league gangsters, if you will, or wannabe gangsters, and that's what it was. I got in trouble. I was indicted on a big case, which I didn't expect at the time. And I got picked up on a murder that was 9 years before the indictment I was involved in.
Okay. And we'll go let's see, how did you join the mob? The
I didn't
Bonanno
join
family.
the mob. I can't. Kind of is. I'm not gonna say born into the mob. That's nobody's born into the mob. I kind of wanted to be part of the mob at one time,
Mhm.
and hold on, I'm getting a phone call. And I started hanging out with people my age who had similar upbringings or people in their family, and we started hanging out together with that goal of one day being part of a crime family.
Right. So how many years were you in the Bonanno family?
I was an associate of the Banana. I was never inducted into the family. I was
Right.
never a made member. I had family who were, and my goal into being in the Banana family. How much was I part of involving myself like in legal crimes with the Bonanno family? I'd say maybe close to a long time. I started with gambling.
Mhm.
I don't know, before I got picked up, a good 15 years.
What kind of crimes was it?
Yeah.
And what was your title?
Anything from gambling to assault, mostly gambling. And my murder was part of trying to enhance myself into the Bonanno family, not so much a murder that was part of the Bonanno family, if you understand what I mean. It's
Yeah.
it's got it was a predicate of a RICO that at the time I was even surprised because I felt that the government had me more as that what I thought I was.
So when they arrested you for that, what was going through your head that day when they came and pick you up? What was the situation? What were you doing?
Well, good. I slept at my I was slept I remember the night before I had gotten into an argument with my girlfriend at the time. So I ended up sleeping at my mom's house. And for some reason I was being tailed, and I later found that out, and I ended up going back to my girlfriend's house that night. So the feds thought I was at my mother's house, and they raided my mother's house while I was at my girl's house. So she wakes up, and her mother lived downstairs on the first floor. I lived in the second floor, and she was like, "Listen, it's what you do wrong." She didn't know nothing about me. She goes, "Well, she knew I wasn't no fucking saint, but she also didn't think I was." Well, she didn't know what she was about to hear. Put it this way: when I was getting arraigned, and she goes, "There's a whole bunch of cops outside." My mother said. I said, "All right, let me look." I go out looking, and I see the blue jackets with the yellow lettering on the back, the FBI, and guns right at me. I said, "Calm down." I said, "We're good." And they arrested me. And they told me what they arrested me for. And I remember the biggest charge at the time, which was murder. So from then on, it was a crusade to fight my case.
Yeah, and with that murder, are you able to talk about what the situation was with that?
I don't like to. I will eventually, but I don't. I pled guilty to it.
Hmm.
I took culpability of it. My role. and I played out to that among a lot of other things when I decided to flip.
Okay. And you before you even flipped, you were in prison for 6 years, was it? Or
No, it was about close to 2.5, 3 years.
oh, okay. So that's how long you were before that went
Mm-hmm.
down. Okay. So what made that happen? What made you go that route?
Um, Good question. A lot of things. I mean, people talk about what makes them, I said it before, everybody's always looking for an excuse. It was a lot of things. I don't like to beat on the issue. I have enough to say this went on or that went on, but I don't. I at the end of the day, I contributed to time. I was looking at 27 years on a plea, life if I went to trial and lost, and then I was being deported as well. And and the weeks before I did flip, there was a turn of events that kind of like, if I was on the fence, definitely pushed me over.
Hmm. Okay. And so they were trying to deport you at the time too. So you were originally from
No,
Italy,
no,
right?
no, 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 no. I knew I was gonna get deported because that's how
Oh,
you do your time, you get deported. I wasn't a
mm,
citizen.
yeah. So then you ended up you never did get deported then, right?
I didn't get deported. I mean, I have family back in Italy that are also still active members of the mafia, which basically it's a major threat assessment.
Okay. So you were originally kind of talk about where you were born.
I was born in Sicily. I was born in Castellammare del Golfo, and it's always been a stronghold, big mafia town, especially with members of American LCN, the Bonanno family in particular. Joe Bonanno, the guess the founding father. Well, he ain't actually the founding father of the Castellamarese Bonanno family. Maranzano might as well have been that guy, but he was our first godfather. Well, members of the Bonanno family's first godfather, and he was from my town as well.
Okay. And what else are you able to talk about with, that crime family? Like kind of give a history of the Bonanno family.
Well, it didn't have a rat until 19. Well, a member didn't rat until not no 2002. The first cooperator was Richard Cantarella and Frank Coper. Before that, we were the only family not to have a member to cooperate. So we were in higher standings in that regard. We also went through a lot. The Donnie Brasco debacle, where he infiltrated the Bonanno family for 6 years, and we still didn't have a cooperator. We had a lot of situations that could have had people flip, and they didn't. And that was the first time that people flipped. We were also the first family to have a boss flip. He was the first actual boss to flip. So within a turn of events from 2002 to about 2005, that family went from one of the most respected to one of the most still respected. There's a lot of guys that kept their mouth shut, but the most surprised. People were surprised at the turn of events.
Yeah.
You had a boss, underboss flip. You had captains flip. A lot of people flip.
Who were the bosses that were at the time flipping?
Joe Massino was the boss, the actual boss of the family. I testified against him in trial, and in respect to gambling, and he was the first guy to flip. He blew trial. He had 8 bodies, and on the day that he flipped, he asked to talk to the prosecutor, and that was one of the biggest surprises. If you ask anybody in Cosa Nostra or anybody in mob, if you have to ask who are the top 3 guys you think ever flipped in Cosa Nostra history, they'd probably tell you Joe's probably top 3. I would have him at number 1, but they'd probably tell you top 3.
Who would be your other two?
Good question. Shit, probably people I've known. Be one kid I grew up with. He ended up telling on the Giannini case. His kid was named Fabio. I was surprised that he flipped, and I'm not. People are probably like, "Who the fuck is he?" And I get that. I mean, he was my friend. And number 2, I don't know, probably Sammy the Bull,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah, I
knew
mean
him personally. And if you ever met him, and I met him after he flipped, but you kind of figure if you met him before he flipped, he's probably one of them guys you think, wow, fucking Sammy flipped. And you probably could ask that to anybody that knew him before that.
What was your interaction with him? I guess because you known him
I met
after.
him in I met him in the cheese factories, as they say. They call them the rat factories, you know. How were they?
Yeah.
They pretty good. I mean, I like Sammy. A lot of people, you know, either love him or hate him. I find him to be very truthful. You know, he's probably telling me the same stories 3, 4 times, and you know, either he's got a great memory or he just tells the truth. And I'm gonna go with he tells the truth, and he tells about stories and stuff. And he's a great. He's very smart. He's a very smart guy. He's a very smart street guy. Books, I don't know. He's well rounded. He's pretty well rounded, but he's definitely got a PhD on streets. He's got hands down intelligent, very intelligent.
Now, did you have any other interactions with any of the crime families while you were active?
Yeah. In respect to being friends or gambling and stuff like that, or gambling with them or whatever. Yeah. I kind of knew everybody. We went out together. As far as in a criminal aspect, families have usually interactions with their own families. You know what I mean? So to have interactions with other families, there's not many people that do that.
Right. Yeah. So for mostly your interactions that you did have with them, you know,
with my people.
Well, I mean, with these other crews too. Like, do you have any funny stories or anything while you guys were out, or anything that you can remember?
Well, funny story. Yeah, of course. I mean, well, one of my favorite stories is that some kid, he's a main member now in the Gambino family. He had owed him money, and he'd gotten a call that this guy who owes him money is at this diner on Queens Boulevard. It's Sage Diner. So he goes to me. He goes, Frankie, come with me. Let's go. We go get this guy. He's there. So we got this other kid with us. He's about 6'2", about 380 pounds. This other kid's a big kid too. It's about 6 something. I was a little lit. We were coming from the bar, and then we had this shorter kid. He was driving, and we see the guy there. The big guy who has some money goes, "Hey, you motherfucker! Now this whole bar is this bar. It's not a bar. It's a diner. It's packed. It's packed." So I go towards the guy and I throw a swing. The guy ducks and the floor is slick, and I slip. I go for about 10 feet. But while I'm going, I grabbed his chain because I went to grab his neck, and I go with the chain like this, and I got it. But I didn't want to. I'm not a chain thief. I'm nothing. It just happened that way. You know, I was falling. I had to grab onto something. The kid backed up. This kid, Vito, he went up there and he just fucking nails this guy right down. He nails him. The guy gets up. I get up. I forget. You know, he helps me up because I'm fucking rolling. And some chick, she has like the cell phones that are just, you know, the flip ones that are just coming in style at the time. This is near the courthouse on Queens Boulevard too. So who knows if these fucking were like lawyers or whatever, DA. Girl goes, hey, you don't see what's going on? This is a mob-related incident. You know, she goes, somebody call the cops right away. And we look like this, and we just start laughing and run out of the fucking place. You know, it was so freaking like liberal chicks who must have watched The Sopranos that fucking day, you know, just giving it to. We just laughed all the way on the way home. I gave the chain back to the kid. I gave it to the one kid. He ended up paying him his money. He gave him his chain back. It was all good. But yeah, that reaction just had us laughing. We always talked about it all the time.
Yeah, man, that is a pretty funny one.
Yeah.
You know, so what are some other, Bonanno stories that you got that you can talk about?
Well, shit. That was not. I don't think I'm the most exciting person in the world. I mean, there was a lot. We've done a lot of things. A lot of fights. We as kids, especially when we were in this kind of farm team thing, we went out and we would be clubbing and we would get in these brawls. I had a gift for getting arrested always on freaking certain holidays. I got arrested on Valentine's Day one time, and one time on Father's Day, my dad was an assault, and my dad goes, "Fuck, you couldn't even leave that day alone." You know what I mean? When I came home, they had to go pick me up in Long Island. It was on a Sunday, so there's many stories, but you know, I don't know. It's some of them I try to I like to forget, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, man. So,
But I am in the midst of getting a book done pretty soon, and a couple of videos coming out. So actually documentaries. I'm sorry, I'm tired. I'm out of town right now. And yeah, you could read them there. Hopefully
yeah,
you like them.
yeah,
I
no,
got
that's
many of them.
yeah, good, man. Do you even have a
Yep.
date or anything on that yet?
I've been working on a book for a while. You know,
Mhm.
I get mental block and I have somebody helping me with it. And there's a lot of angles, there's a lot of things. I want it to be right. I want it to be, you know, I not as honest as possible. I'm big on that. You know, there's a lot of people that embellish out there. I don't embellish. Matter of fact, I as far as the mob, I think I was not. Um, I think the feds had me as more as I thought I was when I got locked up, and but some people beg to differ as well. So I'll make you guys decide.
How was, how did the people treat you? Did they treat you differently? And when you were a mob guy, like, did they have some kind of respect? Like since you're an associate?
Yeah, well, yeah. When I my violent like history was out there on the streets, especially after the murder or a couple a shooting or whatever, or my friends or what we just went into places and turned the places out, whatever. So yeah, the people's like the wise guys would their demeanor would change with me. You know, I always talk about that. They were like, "This kid's a good kid. You know, you could bring him here if you need some work to be done. He'll do it for you." And you know, that used to be a high at the time. That was a mental high. That knowing that these guys who were big guys among themselves would regard you to do some work for them. You know, it was a drug.
Yeah, so that's what really kept you going and kind of made you want to get in deeper with it, you'd say?
You kind of want to perform as better. Yes, you know, picking up a bat, hitting people with it. You know, just having no regard for fucking respect for anything. You know, people knew me to tell you I like to use a bat a lot. Um, if I had to shoot you, I'd shoot you too. I've done that. You know, so it was definitely a drug.
Yeah, so it sounds like it, man. And it was just like really just getting that appreciation or that attaboy kind of
What
thing.
violent? I said it before. Violent reactions get positive reactions in any kind of form of organized crime.
Right. Would you ever recommend this life for anyone?
No, matter of fact, you know, the group that I grew up with and the kids I grew up with, we were known as the Giannini's group, but actually we were a bunch of kids who grew up on Gates and Fresh Pond. None of us even knew that one day would be called the Giannini Project. That was just a newspaper thing. I always thought that it was a Jerry Capisi thing. If you know who Jerry Capisi is, he's kind of writes about the mob. I think he labeled us. We hung out on this block on Gates and Fresh Pond Road, and you're talking about what do you tell these other? Yeah, we had family in the mob. We grew up around people like that. A lot of us did, but our parents were good people. They didn't. They didn't. Maybe they had relatives in them. Like my mom, her brother was a gangster. She didn't want, she didn't want me to be a cop by no means. We were not cop friendly, okay? But she didn't want me to be a gangster either. She wanted me to go to work and mind my business and be neither. And I could say that for my friends as well. All of my friends that I hung out with and grew up with. It's just that, we had that in front of us. It was that thing. I said it before. I said it, a couple of minutes ago. It was like a drug. And Hollywood didn't hurt either. Italians are passionate. we romanticize that kind of life. We watch it on TV, and we wanted it. You know, it's art imitating life. For us, it was life. We wanted life to imitate art.
Right.
You know, we go watch Goodfellas, and then we want to come back out and be you know, and we didn't need, you know, I watched Goodfellas in Queens. That we didn't need a stage. That's where it took place. We could just went out that movie theater and act it out, you know.
Yeah, no,
And
I hear you.
you know, even in the comedy sense, in the comical sense, you see all these people watch like Rocky, and then who remembers the first Rocky? Even in my neighborhood, you know how Italians are. My friend's father's putting on fucking some gray outfit, drinking 12 eggs, and running around the block. I go, what the fuck are you doing? You know? Yeah, Hollywood has a strange effect on some people. It did for me. I could honestly say, but nobody forces. You know, at the end of the day, it's just a movie. You don't have to. And I still like mob movies, to be honest with you, but definitely had some kind of toll. So it was a whole array of things.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I do got one more for you.
Sure.
Was there any wars that were going on while you were active?
They were, but they weren't in my neighborhood. They were going on in Brooklyn. So I grew up in Queens, and the border of Bushwick, which is North Brooklyn. This was South Brooklyn where all this was going on. It was the Colombo family. And they were having an eternal war among each other, a pretty bad one too. Then that was the only one. It wasn't nothing. Now, did my friends have wars with other people? Well, wars, I mean, gang rumbles and stuff. Yeah, shootouts, whatnot. Yeah, you know. But we were always the victors. At the end of the day, that farm team I'm talking about, to you, the kids who grew up on Gates and Fresh Pond and them, even today, we have more made members for a farm team than any other farm team in the 90s. There must be like 10 to 12 guys that have made today.
What is the farm team exactly?
It's actually it's a bunch of wannabe kids who are looking to get into that life and trying to get the older people to give them attention and bring them into it, induct them into that life, which is Cosa Nostra.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. That makes sense now.
Bat B, Bat Avenue, Tanglewood. You know, John Gotti Jr. had a big farm team too. People don't talk about that. They were tough as well. They covered like 3 neighborhoods: Ozone Park, Howard Beach, Woodhaven.
Mm-hmm.
They had it going on as well.
Well, what'd you think? Frank's got a really interesting story, and he's really changed his life around, so I'm really glad that I was able to get him on and share his story. Please comment any key takeaways or any comments that you had from this video. I'm really interested to see what you got to say, and I always respond to everyone. And also, please share it with someone that you think will enjoy this video. Please don't forget to hit subscribe to my channel if you want to get more interviews like this. And if you want to support me and my clothing brand, I got t-shirts, hoodies, beanies, and sweats all on my website. I'll put the link to my website in the video description. And at the end of this video, you'll see a playlist pop up on the screen of all my other Mafia interviews. And lastly, one more thing I wanted to bring up. Frank's going to be part of the documentary that I've been working on. He's going to be a part of the Bonanno Crime family episode. Check out this trailer, and if you enjoy it, please hit subscribe. This life is very twisted. You never know when it's your time to go. One day you're putting in work with someone, and the next day they're taking you out.
In our days, it was very quiet. You know, nobody ever talked about this. You know, nobody glamorized it. It was all like hush hush.
Not a glamorous life. And again, it's not what you see in Goodfellas. It's not what you see in Casino. Some days you were dead broke. Some days you had $2,000 in your pocket. It wasn't every day. You know, you don't know anything else. You don't know what it is to go wake up 6 o'clock and go to work. Work? What the fuck is that? I wasn't going to work.
Even bosses get murdered in this life.
There was younger guys underneath him, and he wasn't doing the right thing, I guess. He was coming out of the card game, and unfortunately, a lone gunman came up and shot him 5 times.
People who knew me would tell you I like to use the bat a lot. If I had to shoot you, I'd shoot you too. I've done that.
This life requires many mixed personalities. You have to wear many hats in this life to try and survive.
You become 4 or 5 different people all at once. And you got to go home and be a dad and a husband. You got to go to work and do your job. You got to be out in the street and be a gangster.
Bonanno family is called Bonanno family because of my grandfather, Joe Bonanno.
That life there is done. Today you have to be legitimate today.
But you got to be an idiot to want to be a hooligan today. Jail time's now like 100 years for doing
Right.
nothing.
Yeah, you'll be dead, in prison for life, or in the witness protection program.
I don't know anybody. Now, when the mafia turned their back on me, I know everybody.
There was the big flip of the Gambino underboss, Sammy the Bull Gravano.
Here he is, signing autographs in a restaurant on Mulberry Street. And we're supposed to be a secret organization.
He was a very, very, very violent guy. No question about it.
Albert Anastasia, he was a Brooklyn guy. He was probably the biggest killer in the history of the mob.
Michael Francis, his father, Sonny, was a really tough guy. But he really raised his son right.
If you want to see a gangster, that's Sonny Francis. And John Sr. don't compliment anybody.
This is a documentary series about the American Mafia. It includes 11 different crime families. Each episode is about a different one. The crime families include the Gambino, Genovese, Bonanno, Colombo, Lucchese, the Gallo Crew, Chicago Outfit, the Philadelphia Mafia, the Patriarca, the Trafficante crime family, and the Jewish Mafia. Please subscribe to my channel to watch each episode as they come out.